mythologist, visionary, and occasional chronicler of ancient tablets. He claims that 450,000 years ago, aliens crash-landed in the Persian Gulf. Still not convinced? Read his book, The 12th Planet. Muse did.
My book, The 12th Planet, tells the story as recorded on clay tablets from almost 6,000 years ago, according to which Earth has been visited from another planet in our own solar system.
They're called the Nibiru. I think about 8 foot tall, actually, pretty thin. I think reasonably large eyes as well, so I heard. And they kind of came down to Earth and did an experiment because they were looking to just muck around, and I think they mixed their own DNA with the DNA of apes and stuff.
Those who came from that planet, at some point requiring workers, engaged in genetic manipulation and upgraded us to become Homo sapiens almost overnight.
The book kind of starts off talking about how there's like quite a short space of time between like Neanderthal man and all of a sudden man that started creating civilizations.
Darwin's theory of evolution is pretty solid, you know, it's pretty believable, but it doesn't explain how we went from apes to us. If we can find fossils of dinosaurs, then surely we can find fossils of variations between apes and us, but it's almost impossible to find, and that's one of the main pieces of anomalous data which goes against Darwin's theory of evolution. And this 12th planet theory kind of fills in that gap, so that's kind of why I give it some weight, maybe.
All the material on which my writings are based can be seen, actually viewed in the British Museum, in the Louvre in Paris, in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. This material and what it says is not contested. The only question is it a myth or did it really happen? And I've taken the position that it really happened.
Space. Muse likes space. They won't stop going on about it. 1994, and Michio Kaku, professor of theoretical physics at the City University of New York, pens a book called Hyperspace. Little guessing that his theories would inspire Muse's magnum opus, Origin of Symmetry.
The Origin of Symmetry came from a book called Hyperspace, and he was talking about how the next major book on science or something will be called Origin of Symmetry. When you read that book, I kind of found that it's like the truths about science are actually sometimes more fantastical and more exciting than some of the lies of previous religions, do you know what I mean?
Professor Michio Kaku.
Hyperspace talks about the origin of symmetry. All the symmetries we see in the universe, the symmetry of snowflakes, the symmetry of crystals, all of them come from the Big Bang and the origin of the universe itself, which we think comes from higher dimensions, dimensions as high as 11 dimensions. So think, for example, of a crystal, a beautiful emerald that existed at the beginning of time, but it shattered. And this beautiful three-dimensional crystal shattered and landed on a tabletop. And all the people on the tabletop, they're trying to piece together the crystal to find the origin of symmetry. And they can't do it. No matter how they move these pieces of crystal in 2 dimensions, they cannot assemble a 3-dimensional crystal. Think of, for example, carp, fish swimming in a pond. Fish swimming in a pond think that their universe is 2-dimensional. They can swim forward, backward, left, and right. But the concept of up, beyond the pond, is beyond carp ken. They cannot visualize the world of up. We are the fish. We spend all our life in 3 dimensions, moving forwards, backwards, left and right, up and down, not realizing that there could be unseen worlds, unseen dimensions. We physicists now believe that if we take these pieces of crystal and move them in higher dimensions, then you can form a perfect emerald that existed at the beginning of time. So we think that the secret of the universe is the origin of symmetry. The origin of symmetry. The origin of symmetry. The origin of symmetry.
Let's go back. Further back. 1916. See that man at the piano? That's Sergei Rachmaninoff. He's a musician too. quite good as it happens. But what part has he to play in our story? Well, the spaceships were fine, but Matthew's admiration for the work of Mr. Rachmaninoff really raised a few eyebrows.
I would never try and consider that we are anywhere near that level. If you put me as a piano player against any of the people I'm influenced by on the piano, then it just looks like a chimpanzee trying to play the piano or something. You know what I mean? It's a different ball game.
We told classical music buff Verity Sharp from Radio 3's Lake Junction we'd found a chimpanzee who could play the piano. Her verdict?
So we're now listening to Blackout. This is a very lilting waltz feel, actually, to this piece. That is a very kind of classical form. I think this is rather beautiful, actually. This has got a very lilting feel to it, which is a very kind of relaxed feel, and his voice really complements the strings in that way. Everything's very soft. And to have something in 3/4 is actually quite a novelty. Pop tends to be 4/2. I do think that works. Now this is possibly pushing the limit, I think. The end of Butterflies and Hurricanes. What with the percussion section, strings, piano. And, but hey, you know, I mean, you've got to try these things, haven't you? A bit of Rachmaninoff actually quoted. Rachmaninoff be turning in his grave. There's a lot of feeling in there, you know, there's a real commitment. And he's kind of, I would have said, being quite honest about what he wants to do, because he is going to get a lot of criticism for doing that sort of thing. But, you know, he's got the guts to kind of do it, and I respect that. I think he's been a bit hard on himself, actually, to say that he's a chimpanzee in relation to people like Rachmaninoff or Berlioz. And there's no doubt that to be able to have the sort of skill that Rachmaninoff or Berlioz, all these people had, there are very, very few people who can do that. He shouldn't put himself down, I'd say.
I'd rather always set my sights as a musician way higher than what I think I can even achieve, you know. I know that those piano players are so far beyond my own mathematical and emotional understanding of music that I like having a goal that is just so ridiculous I'm never going to get there, do you know what I mean? But it means I'll keep trying.
Muse are not normal. To most, pop music is not about Nibiru, dead composers, time travel and white balloons. To most, pop music is mundane and one-dimensional. Muse, though, aspire to 11 dimensions. But the question is, why? October 1995. Cornwall. And future Muse manager Dennis Smith stumbles upon 3 young men who will irrevocably change his life.
Well, I went first to see them at a little show in a Cornish venue. From there, I recognised that there was, you know, something very special here. Matthew has an incredible range of thoughts. He's got such a restless and imaginative and creative mind, which was obvious even in those early days. Always challenging and wanting to get into very deep conversations. Things that, you know, maybe took me 20 years of adult life to come to terms with, in terms of maybe some sort of spiritual issue, some deep, meaningful thing. An older head on much younger shoulders is how I've always seen him.
But Dennis doesn't know that young Matthew has been keeping older company. Much older. When you dabble in the black arts and Ouija boards, though, that's what happens.
I noticed that my parents were kind of staying up late and telling me to go to bed quite early, and I wasn't sure why, and I kind of went down one night and found them all with candles and talking to, you know, dead people. And so I got a little bit interested in it. Is that unusual? I don't think that's unusual.